had the blessing of having one-on-one, in-depth, hour-long conversations with over 4,300 courageous single women from all around the world. Women of every ethnicity, age group, continent, and with every kind of love challenge you can imagine. And I've been honored to guide hundreds of them who become my clients to meet the love of their lives. We've laughed and cried and gotten to the essence of what it means to be single. The lessons I've learned, not just from my conversations, but from my being in the trenches, helping my clients walk down the aisle and say, I do, can cut down in years the time it will take for you to find the guy you want. This is what I learned. If you were my sister and were struggling to find the love of your life, we sat down over a cup of coffee to talk about men. Here are the 20 brutal truths or lessons I would share with you. Lesson number 1. Imagine you're walking down Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. You enter the Chanel boutique. You find the most amazing pair of Chanel sunglasses. They're $600 or more, but you decide to buy them. And then you go outside the store, and for some weird reason, you decide to dip those sunglasses in dog poop and put them back on. And you start walking around Los Angeles, and you tell yourself the entire time, everything looks brown and everything is smelly. Well, is it really true, or are your glasses coloring your experience? Lesson number 1 is your beliefs will color your experience just like sunglasses. Your beliefs about men, your beliefs about dating, your beliefs about what's possible will make or break your ability to create the connection that you want. Lesson number 2. Have you ever met a woman who is really intelligent and has a lot of things going on for her, but she ends up going for a guy who is horrific for her, not just bad, but downright abusive? She finds herself almost in an addictive situation, unable to break free from the pull of that intensity. Why does this happen? Many reasons, including past trauma and unresolved pain from the past. But one of the factors that makes this possible is having sex when you don't know who the guy is and getting attached too quickly. So lesson number 2 is wait to have sex at least until you become exclusive with him. I have no moral judgment on this, and I'm not saying that you don't have needs or wants that are just as valid as the ones guys have. I'm here to say that if you hold on longer to create an emotional connection first, if you wait to have compatibility, if you go through some good and bad times, if you ensure that he's not having sex with somebody else by the nature of really getting to know him, then by the time you do have sex, it's going to be an amazing experience that will bond you in a good way. If you have sex early and you start losing objectivity, you might end up wasting years on the wrong guy. Lesson number 3. So many people are unable to create the relationship they want because they fall for a narrative that is just not true. Most men and women are looking for an emotional connection, a physical connection, a spiritual connection, an intellectual connection. If you're a woman, you're probably looking for a guy who's sensitive enough to hold you and rock you basically in a good way when you're crying, and to keep a tiger with one bare hand when you're in danger. If any version of you is falling for this, I'm not saying it's not possible. What I'm saying is that it's not possible as a result of nature. When people say, I shouldn't have to learn some things to create love, it's the most natural thing in the world. No, the most natural thing in the world is what's happened for centuries, which is not good and is not awesome for women. So if you are looking right now for the first time in human history, because we have the ability to go deeper in every single area of life with another person and create an amazing relationship. That doesn't happen naturally. And there's going to be skills, including attraction, including communication, including resolving conflict, that are essential to learn if you want to rise up to that level of relationship. Lesson number 4, there are multiple versions of you. On one side of the spectrum, we have a version of you that's exciting, fun, playful, alive, confident, radiant, magnetic. On the other side of the fence, there's a version of you that is slightly jaded and that is a bit angry about situations that have happened and that may be burnt out. Maybe she's even a little cynical about the whole thing. Well, those 2 different versions of you go out into the world. One of them is going to attract awesome men, and the other one is going to be met with resistance and attracting guys who are not good for her. Lesson number 4 is the magnet you choose to step into is either a leverage or a weight. Lesson number 5, so many human beings fall for this myth that when you meet the right guy, your eyes will open wide and your heart will skip a bit and the angels will sing and the ocean will part and the rainbow will come out and there's going to be emanating light shooting across the room from both of you, and you will just know he's the guy you're going to marry. Now, although it's possible it could happen that way, for most human beings, that isn't the case. And if you are falling for some version of, I need to feel that initial spark with someone from the get-go, and if that's not the case, then I need to let go of them, then you're missing out on so many possibilities. I'm a proponent of human beings having spark for a relationship, but that spark doesn't have to be there from the beginning. Lesson number 5 is the initial spark is deceiving. Lesson number 6, most human beings, if sober, would go for a long-lasting, passionate, fulfilling, sustainable relationship that lasts for a long time. But they go for something similar to the spark, an explosion of sorts, a firecracker that shoots multicolors into the sky and then disappears after 2.3 seconds, instead of a candle that can burn through the winter night. So lesson number 6 is chemistry can grow over time. It is not true that if it's not from the beginning, it can grow. I'm not saying it always will, but let's do this. Next time you connect with a guy and your heart is not skipping a bit when you connect with him, but there's something interesting about him, give him another date and another date. Wait 3 dates. And then at the end of the 3 dates, ask yourself the question, am I feeling more spark for him? If the answer is no, stop seeing him. If the answer is yes, because increased vulnerability and shared experiences can deepen that feeling of chemistry, then please continue seeing him. Lesson number 7. There are 2 types of lists women I've spoken with have in terms of the kind of guy they're going for. The overt list, which they're willing and able to share with me. I want a guy who's kind, who's compassionate, has integrity, a guy who has a sense of purpose. Great. And they have a hidden list of things they don't really want to share, but they're really inside in the back of their minds the whole time. I want a guy who's 6 foot tall at least. I want a guy who's dark and tall and strong. I want a guy who can enter a room and command attention and presence just with a look. And I want a guy who is financially really well off. I'm not saying don't go for those things, but the likelihood that you'll go for all those things and the other qualities without having to compromise on something is a bit disingenuous. I'll give you an example. If you're one of those women who are telling herself the guy needs to be at least 6 foot tall, in that one wish, your first wish, you've already eliminated 92% of men in this country, which means if you have more wishes, and I assume you do, you're making it mathematically impossible to get what you want. Am I saying lower your standards? No, I'm saying make sure that your standards really reflect your values and make sure that you're not going for standards that are cosmetic in nature and will prevent you from a long-lasting, fulfilling relationship. And height and income have never been the thing that make a relationship work long-term after a certain point. So lesson number 7 is your hidden list is running the show. Make sure that you're aware of it, that you digest it, that you question it, and that you come up with a list that is more in alignment with the truth of what you really want. Lesson number 8. This world is bombarding us the whole time with fictitious ideas of perfection of women that have nothing to do with reality. This is like the 0.001%. And at the end of the day, a man is looking for a woman who looks more like you, even if you don't believe that's the case. You have the capacity to show up with aliveness, with passion, with radiance, with exuberance, with joy, with presence, and those will reflect far more powerfully over time than the DNA you were born with. The DNA you were born with is going to change and shift over time. The presence, the energy, the radiance is something that is there to keep. So lesson number 8 is you're far more beautiful than you think. Stop comparing yourself to other women. Stop telling yourself that there's something missing. Stop telling yourself that you're too old or too thin or too big for anyone. You can find a guy who connects with who you are, and if you show up a certain way, he'll fall in love with you. Lesson number 9. Far too many women get attached to men and connect with them and find out several months into the dating experience that he doesn't want children and she does, or that he never was married and she does, or that he has somebody else on the side and he's never shared it, but really never been asked if exclusivity is the thing that's going on. So lesson number 9 is one courageous question can save you from a year or more of pain. Make sure before you go out on a date with a guy, you ask at least this one question. Share a bit more about what you're looking for in a relationship. If he's unable to answer that question, don't go on a date with him. If he's answering with something that's cryptic and weird, deepen and make sure that he can answer it. If he's sharing something that is a different vision than what you have for a relationship, don't waste your time. Lesson number 10. Have you ever seen a hamster spin himself or herself on a wheel for a long period of time, continuing without stopping? Well, there's a lot of energy expenditure and there's a lot of sweat and tears, but there's no real movement. Well, the things you don't know that are stopping you, your blind spots, are very similar to that hamster running on its own axis. Lesson number 10 is your attraction blind spot is holding you hostage. The way you come across, the way you're dating, the questions you're asking or failing to ask, your level of confidence. There's so many different things that you may not be able to see from inside the cereal box on the outside label that are making it really hard for you to figure out what you're doing wrong. So on those lines, if you're a single woman watching this, I'd be willing to bet that you're not aware of the root cause why you're still single. So what I've done is I've taken so many lessons and years helping women attract the love of their lives, marriages, like partnerships, and I put together a quiz you can take in about 60 seconds that will reveal to you the answer to the question, what's the number one reason you're still single? If you'd like to participate, all you have to do is go to the first link in the description. You'll see a page that looks like this. Answer a few simple questions, and in 60 seconds, you'll have two things. The answer to the question, why you're still single, and a custom report based on your specific blind spot that's going to tell you the number one action you can do starting today to attract the guy you want in a fraction of the time. Lesson number 11, there's guys who will treat certain women like royalty and will breadcrumb other women. Same guy. What is the difference? You might be erroneously thinking it's the way she looks. It's not that. It's the standards she has. So lesson number 11 is men will rise to the level of your standards. That's not to say that all guys can step up. Here's the beauty about this. If you have standard for how you connect with men, what it takes for you to date someone, what it takes for you to hold hands with someone, what it takes for you to kiss someone, what it takes for you to make out with someone, what it takes for you to have sex with someone, what it takes for you to become exclusive. You have those standards. Guys will do one of two things. They will show up stronger, rise to the level of your standards, or self-disqualify and step down, but not take you sideways to the level of wasting your time, breadcrumbing, and giving you just long-winded speeches that don't have any substance attached to them. Lesson number 12. I've connected with thousands of women who want love and with few women, I'm going to say hundreds of women, who are committed to getting love. And what I would say to you is that lesson number 12 is wanting love is not helpful. Wanting love is not enough. If you really want to create something at the level of connection you're seeking right now, want all sorts of things, but it's what you commit to. It's what you're willing to get uncomfortable for. It's what you're willing to learn and change for and adapt and show as your best self that creates the connection that you want. So if you catch yourself saying, I want love, ask yourself instead, if I were committed to experiencing love, what's one change I would do right now? Lesson number 13, if you're experiencing a lot of heartbreak and some betrayal and some ghosting and some breadcrumbing, it wouldn't be out of this world for you to connect with men and be waiting for the other shoe to drop from early on. Lesson number 13, give the right man a chance to step up. When you start sensing that there's something you feel uncomfortable with, instead of just cutting it off and cutting your losses and running, give the guy a chance to step up. Say, here's how I'm feeling right now. The other day when you didn't arrive on time, or the other day when you were looking at this other person, or the other day when you spoke about your ex, here's what I was feeling. Can we talk about that? Give the guy a chance to step up before you cut him out, before you don't give him a chance to let him even know what happened. Make sure that you're allowing him to know what you're feeling, what you're needing, and what he can do to make it better. Lesson number 14. If you are going out into the dating world and your strategy is going online, not that there's anything wrong with going online, but that is just one little tactic amongst an ocean of things you could be doing from a mindset, from a strategy perspective. So lesson number 14 is dating without a strong, solid strategy is a train ride that's going to take you into a 5 to 10 year plan. No one I've ever connected with says, Bern, give me the 10-year plan. I want to find my guy in 10 years. They're usually saying, I want to find my guy this year. And for you to do that, you need to make sure that you have a strategy that works. And a strategy that works has two elements. You have an element of mindset and an element of organic connections with men and an element of online connections with men. If you are really gifted at connecting with guys online, vetting them, asking them the right questions, then you will be able to move things forward more quickly. If you only have online to connect with, and you're not making use of when you go to the grocery store, when you go on a meetup, when you go to the gym, where you go to a hiking trail, if you're not creating connections with guys organically, you're also missing out on so many opportunities that can help you feel a sense of abundance that when you connect with someone will give you the ability to walk away from situations that don't work for you because you know there are far more possibilities that you could ever step into. Lesson number 15. It is not hard for someone to start dating, start getting really hooked on someone, and go only with the idea of who the person is without really vetting who the man is, and sometimes suppressing the little things that are red flags speaking at you that unaddressed will turn into a big nightmare. So lesson number 15 is be radically honest about how you feel when you're with them. Do you feel appreciated? Do you feel seen? Do you feel respected? Do you feel honored? Do you feel taken for granted? If you are keenly aware of what you're feeling, you'll be able to express the need. If you're pushing those things down because the guy on paper seems too good to be true, you're going to enter relationship and situationship one after the other that feel incredibly time wasteful. Lesson number 16. There are many different ways to get what you want, but the best way I found is to ask with an open heart. So lesson number 16 is ask with humility and doors will open. There's a huge difference between you saying something to a guy of the sort of, you're doing it wrong, or why are you doing it this way, or how come, fill in the blank. But if you're willing to say, hey, this doesn't feel good, would you be willing to fill in the blank? Would you mind for when we connect, do it this way? If you're willing to take a step back and ask a question with humility and kindness, you'll be surprised how many guys choose to step up, not feel defensive, and give you what you want. At the core of most men is the hero archetype of being willing to do something that makes your life better. Lesson number 17. I'm not going to get into the whole feminine masculine dynamic here. That's not what this video is about. I am here to share that I see too many women trying too hard to make things happen with men. And there's nothing wrong with having agency and being willing to express your truth. The truth is, if you're showing up fully, if you know what you're worth, you never have to chase a man. So what I mean by that is don't play tricks, don't play games. Show up knowing that if a guy really wants to connect with you and you're being open and radiant and expressive, he'll do what it takes to ask you out and connect with you. That doesn't mean you don't initiate ever. That doesn't mean you don't reach out. It just means that give a guy a chance to step up and not chase you, but pursue you with passion and pursue you with a level of investment that shows you that his actions show you that he's interested in you. Lesson number 18. There are two foundational ways to treat dating. One is dating is a means to an end and is the horrible mechanism through which I'm going to catch a husband. I'm being facetious and exaggerating slightly, but that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is I choose to treat dating as a spiritual practice because through every interaction, every connection, every rejection, every boundary setting, I am being fortified as a human being and learning skills and healing in ways I would never in a billion years have to show up for if I were meditating by myself on a mountain. So if you treat dating as a spiritual practice, you're getting stronger, more courageous, more evolved. By the time you connect with the person that's the right fit for you, you've become stronger, more gifted as a lover. If you take every interaction that doesn't go your way as I just wasted my time, then that's going to lead into you feeling at the end of the day a little bit more jaded and a bit more cynical. The biggest gift when all is said and done is not just what kind of guy do you get, but who did you become in the process. I've had the blessing of seeing transformations of the kind that weren't possible after many, many years of hard work and sometimes therapy and sometimes other types of coaching. But when people find the right fit for them, the right help, things can shift really quickly. So don't be afraid to get expert help. If you've been at this for a while, if you've been struggling with this, if you're not able to recognize your blind spots, if you know that there's more than what you're experiencing, that the level of awesomeness you're finding in guys again and again and again is not reflective of who you are, then consider the possibility that someone who knows what they're doing can help you out. There's multiple different ways to go about this. Therapy is one of the routes if healing needs to take place, and coaching is another route. If you're ever interested in finding out if we could be a fit to work together, second link in the description can help you with that. But regardless of who you choose, make sure that you're not making this harder on yourself than it needs to be. Thank you for showing up fully today. If you found this helpful and insightful, it would mean the world to me. This is how I can grow and reach more women. If you click like and subscribe, and if you want to continue learning how to attract the guy you want without the need for gimmicks, manipulation games, or stupid techniques, make sure to watch the next video right here.